get to 275,000 for just one. I bet you'll get to two. I bet you'll get to 245 before I get to
No, they didn't have any of the credit, so I got an extra 4. I also didn't have the credit. They gave me a 4.
I get it to focus? I don't know.
All right, we'll go ahead and get things started. I know some of you might be finishing up, but go ahead and we'll just kind of get things rolling so we can get out of here in a timely manner. But before we do, we have a birthday boy in the house tonight, so we want to make sure we welcome him. And his sister has volunteered to lead us in a happy birthday. You said you would.
Okay. Happy birthday.
Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday, dear Wayne. Happy birthday to you.
That was special. All right. So we'll go ahead and get things rolling. As we get started here, there's a couple of things I want to do before we start talking about the seasons and teams and all that stuff. So first off, I want to go through a bunch of thank yous, and I'm sure I'll forget some people. So if I do at the end, if people can help me out and shout out anybody else that should be thanked that I forgot, please do. That would be great. So first off, I want to thank my assistant coaches, Sean, who we don't feel too bad for because he's on his way to Mexico, but him for all his hard work with us, with Chris, Wilkie, and Chris Miller as well for their work in joining us this year. Undoubtedly was a huge lift to have these guys join our staff this year, and also to their families. As everyone knows, it's a lot of time away from home, and so to have them join us and be a part of that, and their families support that was a huge help. So thank you so much for to them and to their families. I'd like to thank my wife and her family. I know she's not here, but I got to make sure I throw that plug out in case anybody talks to her in the next few days. Also to these guys sitting up here in these tables, okay? These players, every single day they come ready to go, ready to work. Amazing group of guys. We'll talk more about that, but just the work ethic and the attitude they bring every single day makes coming to the rink that much more special. So thank you to these guys. A big thank you to our 4 managers. They do so much for these guys that goes unnoticed and unthanked, I'm sure. And so what they do, whether it's just getting water, helping make protein, bringing snacks to buses, to pregame, filming, doing stats, always being there. This year we added some laundry to their duties, and so what they do is unbelievable, and it helps things immensely as for us coaches. So thank you, girls, very much. And then probably most importantly is to you parents, and this is a pretty long list, so I want to read it and make sure we don't lose anybody here, but I want to thank Barb for doing stats these last few years on Hockey Hub, which is that's a pretty tall task to take on after every single game. Also for taking pictures at every single game. That's awesome to have that to go back and look at and pick from. Also to do the slideshows, not only this one, but also the senior one that she put together. So thank you so much, Barb. Julie for putting together this book and everything else that you did throughout the year, and all booster parents really. Don for setting up these tables. I believe that was Don, right? Okay, so setting up the tables with the table decorations. They look fantastic. Carrie for organizing tonight, organizing parents' night as well. Jen, and Megan for organizing Hockey Fights Cancer Night, which was a huge success. And what was the final tally on that?
$3,000.
Over $3,000 was raised and donated to the Hockey Fights Cancer organization. So that was pretty amazing event. Anybody that worked the penalty box, did the timing, did the stat sheets, score sheets, which was probably pretty much everybody in here at some point. Did the announcing, especially voice of the Bulldogs, Mr. Hartman back there. I want to thank the Dominique family for their gracious gifts of catering meals for the boys, for a couple box lunches to our longer away trips. It was unbelievable, and I'm sure the boys thanked you as much as they could, but thank you very much for all your generosity. We really appreciate it. Booster families that did box lunches to some of our away games, that ordered pizzas for us for coming home, or the chicken strip dinners, those kinds of things. All that goes a long way. All the families for the support and encouragement just throughout the year. Debbie Berg for an idea of giving Christmas gifts to families in need. I got a great thank you letter from them, and it's that kind of stuff that goes a long way. It's outside of that, this is the realm of hockey. So anybody else that I forgot? Tried to get everybody, but if I did, if I forgot, just know that you are thanked, and all you do for us is a huge help for not only me and the staff, but also for the boys. So thank you guys all so much for everything that you do. Now I'll have Chris and Chris come up, and they're going to give us a quick recap and talk about the JV season. Carson.
I guess I got this because I said sounds good in the text message. We lost a couple games due to the weather, but overall we're 8-7-1. Showed up, boys worked hard, they had fun. It was a great first season. I had a lot of fun. I hope you guys had a lot of fun. That's really about it. Thank you.
We can have all the JV guys stand up, make sure they get recognized for all their hard work and dedication to the season. That'd be great. These guys stand up for fun. They did a great job. All right, so get on to next up. So just a quick review of the season. Obviously, quite an amazing season, for a lot of different reasons. The ending being obviously the one that stands out the most, but there's other things that stood out in my mind. I want to kind of recap those here real quick. So a couple things. So this season we saw 2 winning streaks of 9 games, and then another one that lasted an entire month of January at 8 games. Since I've been coaching, we haven't had anything, I believe, over 6. So pretty amazing feat right there in my mind. Second place finish in the Big South. One big one is here is a sweep of Laverne, which is 3 games in a row if you're keeping track. And of course, that last week of February, that magical week of the section playoffs obviously comes to mind. So just a quick couple things, a couple games that stuck out to me as a coach. Just kind of leaving the rink after those kind of games, you're like, wow, we have something really brewing here. One of the games was the game at Marshall. We had just come back off of Christmas, didn't have a great game at Worthington, and we go into Marshall, which is always, I don't think ever since I've started coaching we've won there. And so we go in there and put it on and pretty good with a 4-1 win. So that was pretty fun to watch. At Waseca, always a tough game. It's always nice to beat Waseca anyhow. And then another one that stood out was the game at Laverne. Had 2 weeks off. Everyone was getting frustrated because all we were doing was practicing for 2 weeks straight. We kept every time we had a game, all right, sweet, we're playing, and then 4 o'clock would roll around, and no, we're not. And nope, all right, we're scheduled for tomorrow, no, we're not. And so everyone was just kind of getting sick and tired of playing against each other. Coaches were getting sick and tired of creating practice plans, and so we were going into Laverne, and to be honest, 2 weeks off, you're not really sure what's gonna happen. It could be a good thing or it could be a bad thing, and by watching them, it was obviously a pretty darn good thing, because I don't think Laverne had any idea what happened, and pretty sure Laverne hasn't gotten beat like that in a very, very long time, so that was fun to watch for sure. So that's just a quick recap. Now we get to the fun stuff, some of the awards. So first one, which is probably the one that's has at least acclaimed the most celebrity status for our team. We had two young men nominated for the all hockey team or hockey hair team from the state tournament. Unfortunately, one of them, let go of his locks and got him cut already. But we got a gift box from the guy that does the videos that there's a bunch of random stuff in there, so I'll let you guys figure it out. But congratulate Thunder and Lightning up here. Certificate, some hair products, so you guys can divvy that up. Good luck. All right, we just found out actually yesterday that we had some players named to the all-conference team. We'll go ahead and nominate those. So first off, nominated all-conference this year, we had Hunter Wilmus and Tyson Souter. We also had 2 players named to the honorable mention team. That was Andrew Regner and Danny McCabe. All right, now we're going to get into the awards. These next awards are voted on by the players. We have a few different ones that they vote on, as well as who will be the captains, which we'll get to later. But first up, the first award that we're going to get to is Most Improved. We had a lot of guys that were nominated for this one, but the person that won, I think, is very, very deserving. He started out this season on JV, kept working, got a chance on varsity, and stuck with it. Kept working and never looked back, and he had a great season for us. On the blue line, that is Jake Rimstead. Next up, we got the offensive MVP. Probably everyone in their mind can probably guess who this might go to, but we'll keep you in suspense here. Ended up the season with 60 points, pretty remarkable. Third overall in program history in career points, which is no small feat in and of itself. Definitely was just somebody that we kept leaning on. Had a huge section tournament with 7 goals and 9 points in 3 games, which is pretty remarkable. So congratulations, Hunter. All right, moving along. Defensive MVP. This person will be very, very missed. A 3-year starter on the blue line for us. Logged a ton of ice time, whether it was 5-on-5, power play, penalty kill, running power plays, getting hit by Hunter slap shots on power plays, whatever it might have been. But congratulations, Dane McCabe. And the last one that's voted on by the players is the Bulldog Awards. This award is it just goes to people that every single day come and are ready to work, put their best foot forward, work their butts off every day, and it's all about that hard work and that Bulldog mentality. We actually had 3 guys that all got the same amount of votes, which is pretty amazing, and we had about 10 guys that got votes, which just shows you how hard these guys do work. And how hard their teammates notice what they do every single day. So these 3 young men each received the Bulldog Award. We got Tyson Souter, Ken Ringler, and Lane Schwartz. We have one other award, the Hobie Baker Character Award. This is an award that is every year that teams can nominate a player that gets some publicity for it, get a chance to go to a Wild game. But what it is, it's all about character. And this young man demonstrates that every single day, whether it's at the rink, at school, outside of school, working with younger kids. And Lane Schwartz is our winner for that, with every single day doing the right thing. All right. So now we'll have we're going to go through and give out the letters, and along with a couple other things. So we'll start off with our sophomores. If everyone could come up, we'll have the group come up and stand up, and then when everyone's announced, they can go ahead and sit back down. So we have Eliza Hudson, Taylor Hartman, Bella Kapsner, Aiden Blaschko, Brady Souter, Jake Rimstad, Logan Moe, Logan Throwdahl, Seth Reichs, and Tice Shook. They'll have your All right, next up, we'll go through our juniors. For our juniors, we have Brianna Hagan, Brock Olson, Charlie White, Matt Fink, Sean Leighton, Tristan O'Brien, and Zach Wendorf. All right, so now we'll get into our seniors. As seniors come up, we'll have them stay up here and share some of their favorite moments, some maybe parting words of wisdom, as well as whatever else they want to share with the collective group here. So these guys have had an unbelievable career. They have collected a record of, 50, 27, and 2 over the last 3 years. And that's pretty remarkable, stretch of 3 years with a section semifinal appearance as well as obviously a section championship. And, something that will go down in forever in Bulldog history as the first senior group to go to a state tournament. And so something obviously they should each be very proud of, as I know I am. So go ahead and start off with Alex Wilson. Come on up. Right a little bit. Alex was playing some great hockey at the end of the year, exactly when we needed him to. He did a great job. He went through a lot this year and he stuck with it and persevered. And that perseverance and tough work really showed with how he played hockey the last month. And I'm just very proud of how he finished off his senior year. So nice job, Alex. Sure. All right, we got up next. We got Andrew Regner. Andy's been a 3-year starter for us in the net, and he's actually been with me for 4 years, every year that I've been a head coach. So he's been through it all, comes in, works hard every day, not easy to put the pads on and takes shots every single day, especially when you're sore, tired, and maybe just plain don't want to do it, but he does, and he does it with a lot of, with a high level of skill. Andy is one thing that reminds me, or I'll always remember about Andy is last year he gave a stick to a young player that's in the youth program, or actually I don't even think was playing yet. He got the stick, went home, he still hasn't stopped talking about it. Ended up joining hockey the next year, and it's stuff like that that goes unnoticed, but it's pretty cool to see, and it just passes on that love of hockey, which is amazing. I know there's going to be a lot of area coaches that won't be sad to see him in net next year, and I know as a coach I won't be sad to see how much he thought he could play the puck, but I don't think I've ever seen anybody be able to take the net off and make it look so good in my life. Not going to complain though, I'm just saying that. Yeah, especially the Lures game, that was a good one. Next up, we got Blake Olness. Blake did a great job for us all year. It's not easy to be asked to move to different positions, and especially in your senior year, and he did so with a great attitude, worked hard every single day, and kept working his butt off and putting his best foot forward, and I was incredibly proud of how he did that. One thing I learned about Blake this year, though, is early on in the year we were coming back from a bus trip, and I did not know that Blake had some pretty good skills as a rapper. So, up next, we got Danny McCabe. As I said before, Danny's logged a lot of ice time for us over the last 3 years. 3-year starter, 2-year captain. You don't find that very often in hockey programs. I can't find enough things to say about Danny. He's just an amazing kid. One thing that always sticks out about his hockey play is he's always in position. I still don't think I've seen him get beaten a one-on-one in practice, or if it has, it's been very rarely. One thing that I always remember about Danny, it's again not really about hockey, but it was after last year, before we played Mankato East, and my wife had just gone to the hospital, and we came back, and I just said come straight from there to the rink in Mankato, and kind of told the guys about what was going on, and Danny came up and told me about his twin cousins that were born early, and how great they're doing, and how healthy they are. And it's just stuff like that that goes unnoticed, and it's things like that that will always stick with me. And so just kind of shows what kind of character he has and how great a guys all these kids really are. So thank you, Danny, and nice job. Up next, we got Gunnar Domini. Earlier this year, Gunnar gave me a phone call and said he wanted to come and talk to me. Not gonna lie, I got a little nervous that it wasn't gonna be a great conversation, but in actuality, it was a fantastic conversation. And it's pretty remarkable that a 17, 18-year-old kid would do that, which a lot of teenagers probably wouldn't. And as he came and talked to me, we talked a lot about hockey, but we also talked a lot about other things. And we just kind of mapped out like how we thought this year was going to go. Unfortunately, it didn't go as planned with cancellations and about the worst timing a kid could get sick each and every week. But he stuck with it. Playing the role of backup goalie might be the hardest thing to do in all of sports because you don't get a whole lot of game time, but you get the same amount of shots thrown at you in practice. And Gunnar wore that emblem of backup goalie with a smile on his face every single day, and it really shows what kind of kid he is and how great of a young man he is. So congratulations, Gunnar. Next up, we got Hunter Wilmus. As everyone probably knows, Hunter has a lot of accomplishments over these last few years that he should be very proud of. Third in the program in points, a couple all-conference, a couple offensive MVP nominations, and like I said earlier, his performance in the section tournament with 7 goals and a hat trick in the section semifinal was pretty fun to watch as a coach, and obviously it was a huge factor for us that week. However, the biggest thing that I'm most proud of Hunter was how he played this year. He decided early on that he was going to change the style of hockey that he played. He focused all of his energy on how he was going to help the team every single shift. He kind of took that chip off his shoulder and put it towards the team, and taking that and realizing that as a fault and turning it into a positive is very hard to do as a high school player, let alone as an adult. And so watching him do that this year and turn it into the player and person that he is one of the most fun transformations I've ever seen as a coach, and that's why you coach. And so for that, I'm extremely proud, and no doubt that kind of mentality had a huge factor in how our season went this year. So nice job, Hunter. Jade Reichs. Jade was the center of our grape line that stuck together for 3 years. One kid that always had a smile on his face, always had to make sure he checked his locker before away games. Still didn't help sometimes, but we tried. Maybe didn't have always the biggest stats, but undeniably had some of our biggest goals this season for sure. A couple things that I'll always remember about Jade, outside of his awesome sellies and bazooka sellies at the XL, it's just how every single day he came with a smile on his face. I'll miss beating him in pipes every day before practice. And then the one thing that I always remember is after the section final game, after kind of the guys got off the dog pile and no one had cut themselves too bad, Jade came up and skated up and just jumped in my arms with the biggest smile I've ever seen a kid have on his face. And it's just pictures like that stick in your brain, and I'll always remember that. So nice job, Jade. Ken Ringler. Ken switched from defense to forward partway through his sophomore season. Never really gave him the chance to see if he wanted to move back or not. I was going to keep him up with the forwards, partly because how good he was as a forward, but also because we had a chance to have a line that stuck together for 3 full years, which is something that never really happens in high school hockey. As a winger on the purple or grape line, Ken always showed up was a leader by example. May not have been the most outgoing or boisterous person in the locker room, but he definitely did so and led by example and his hard work and work ethic. And just for that, it was a lot of fun to coach him. One thing that I'll always remember is also the Lourdes game for Ken. It was after the game, seeing him with his tears in his eyes, how excited he was, but more importantly, during the game, during the second period, he had a pretty good chance at a goal. It missed, came back and was not feeling too great. After the end of the second period, he took a penalty. Again, wasn't feeling too great. We just kept telling him, keep your head up, keep working. And ended up getting a great pass from, I believe, Jade, or Lane, not sure, but whoever it was, and took it up the wing and scored what ended up being our game-winning goal in Rochester. And so it's those kind of moments that our guys keep working and are rewarded for their hard work and keep working, and just their drive and their attitude gets rewarded is what is coaching all about. So great job, Ken. Lane Schwartz. So this is the third part of the grape or purple line. One thing I always remember about Lane, it's hard not to whenever you see the kid, is think about his heroics last year in the Waseca playoff game. I still get goosebumps thinking about that game. Think about every once a month I go to Dave's video on YouTube and just make sure that's still there and watch it and get, again, those same goosebumps and tears in my eyes every single time I watch it. It's just like yesterday. One thing about Lane, and I'm sure everybody knows this, is that Lane is about one of the nicest kids you'll ever meet in your entire life. Always has a smile on his face, no matter what kind of day it is. It could be the best day of his life, could be the worst day of his life, and he's got the same exact smile on his face. And that just is hard to come by. It's amazing to see, and those are the kind of things that I'll always remember, and those are the things that you'll miss at the rink, is seeing these guys' faces and how much they love to be at the rink, and Lane especially. And that's something that a good leader shows, is that having that same attitude day in, day out. May not have the points and stuff that he wanted this year, but you would have never known that by the way he played and by the way he practiced, and that's a sign of a great leader, and something that these young guys can definitely learn from. One game that stands out for me outside of Waseca is, again, the Lourdes game. It wasn't maybe the prettiest game, and Lane maybe didn't score or have a point, but his play throughout the entire game was something that was just remarkable to watch. His play in the defensive zone, he blocked numerous shots. I think at one point he laid out to try and block a slap shot with his head. It's like plays like that these guys knew that they had something special going that day. They were just destined for greatness. And his play on the wing and in the defensive zone and in the corners, and drawing a penalty at the end of the game to ice it, was something that doesn't go in the record books, or maybe doesn't go in the scorebook, but definitely gets noticed by coaches and by teammates. And it was one of the best games I've ever seen the kid play. So nice job, Lane. Tyson Sauter. Another 3-year starter, another 2-year captain. Tyson this year took on a big-time vocal leadership role. He was a good voice of the team. And what Tyson kind of learned how to do is he had a great knack for pushing people. Maybe not in the best way, sometimes as maybe his teammates would say, but still found a way to push people out of their comfort zones, which as a leader is exactly what you need to do at times. And so Tyson learned that was a 100-point scorer in his career with an assist in the last game of the year to get that 100th point, which is an amazing accomplishment. A couple things I'll always remember about Tyson. One, I guess I won't know, but wonder always how he got the nickname Stinker. Probably don't want to know, but it's one thing I don't want to know. But it's one thing we'll always remember. And one thing I always remember about Tyson is his work ethic at the rink. It seemed like and all these kids loved being on the ice, and all these kids loved being at the rink, but it seemed like literally every single day after practice, Tyson was out there trying to give one-timers to somebody, whether it be Sean on the back door, Hunter up top, shooting himself, and it's like every day I was like, no, you gotta get going, you're gonna get run over by a Zamboni, okay? So, get off the ice, and he, was just a kid that loved being on the rink, and when you have that as a coach, it makes your job a lot easier when kids wanna be there and get better, and those are things that I always remember. And then the last thing I'll remember is the last night at the state tournament, when the guys were getting ready to make Charlie think it was 5 or 9 o'clock the next day. I went in there to wake him up, and Hunter and Alex had kept a pretty good straight face. I look over, and Tyson's just beat red and giggling like a little schoolgirl. I watch Hunter having to push him into the bathroom so he can brush his teeth so Charlie doesn't catch on to what's going on. And I had to leave because then I started laughing, and we were lucky he didn't find out. I think he was still too sleepy. But that look and that giggle is something I'll always remember. So great job, Tyson. We got one more senior recognized as well, and that's Zephania Cho. Come on up, man. So happy that Zephania decided to come back out for hockey after a couple years off in Bantams. He came out, he's been playing with us for those last 3 years, and each and every day you can see him continue to get better and better and better. He worked his tail off every single day, was a great leader for the JV team this year, and was somebody that you could always lean on to just know he's going to do the right thing, work hard, and come ready to go every single day. Just one thing I wish is that he would have kept playing all the way through, man. You were doing a great job, so congratulations, Zeke. Give the senior class one more round of applause for an amazing year. Let them all do what they've been dreading since they got here, I think. We'll let them give their amazing speeches, and we'll go from there.
Hi. First, I'd like to thank my parents. I think my mom's just here, but I know my 2 other brothers wanted to play hockey, but he said no to both of them, but he let me play. So, thank you for that. Thanks to all my teammates, both on varsity and JV. Got to play with some of you guys since like sports or something. So it's been pretty fun. Lastly, I'd like to thank all the coaches, just for coaching me. Yeah, thank you.
Alright, I just want to thank my parents for everything they do, for bringing me to the rink ever since I was a little kid, and my dad for sharpening my skates and the rest of the team. I don't think we could have done it without you. Thank all the other parents too, and thank you all my teammates for making the last 3 years the best 3 years of my life, and thank you coaches for everything.
I'll start off with saying thank you to my family. Like Tyson said, thanks for all the drives to the rink and the away games. Thank you to the coaches. I couldn't have asked for 4 better coaches to end my senior year. And most importantly, the players. You guys made going to the rink pretty awesome every day, and much fun to spend with anybody else. So thank you.
Hi, first obviously I'd like to thank my family, but I'd like to thank all the parents too, just all your continued support and just becoming like a family with the entire team, and just the littles like great game Ken or great game to anybody else. It means a lot and it goes a long ways, and I really appreciate that from all the parents. Boys, I love you guys. I wouldn't have wanted to spend my senior season with anybody else, and I'm so proud to be on this team and what you guys have accomplished and what we've accomplished. And coaches, thanks for believing in us, trusting us to do the job, and we did it, and thank you so much.
So I'd like to start off with thanking my parents for getting me into hockey and just driving me everywhere and spending countless amounts of money on program and sticks that I break and whatnot. So thank you for that, and thank you for all the other parents, Jen, Dave, taping my ankles or whatever I needed, so, and all the food from all the other parents at Domini's and all the other parents as well. Thank you coaches for, putting up with Lane. Yeah, and just getting us there to work hard every day and just making it fun to play for. So thanks for that, and thank you to the teammates, just for being some of my best friends, and wouldn't want to do the last 15 years anywhere else. So thank you.
I'll start off with saying thank you to my parents for everything they've done throughout my careers, buying me all the equipment, all the sticks, everything. Thank you, Monty, for sharpening skates. Domini's for the food before playoff games. Just want to say something about the season. Nothing better than being able to go to state, win the section final. Playing with Tyson, Charlie the past 2 years has really been something special to me. Just everything else, Lane, all you guys, Purple Line, it's really fun. So I don't know, kind of nervous right now. So, but yeah, wouldn't want to do it with anyone else. Love you guys.
I guess I'll start with, well, where everyone else starts. Thanks, Mom and Dad, for everything. Food, the equipment, the practice, the forcing me to go when I was probably a mite, sitting on the steps saying, I'm quitting, I'm not doing it. Fully dressed, and still forced me to go. Here I am. I want to say thanks to the coaches. It's been a ride. Good luck in the future. Boys, thanks. It's been a memorable season. And there's one more. I want a special thank you to someone sitting out there for, before I gave Shay a call, because that call probably would have went a different way, more towards where he was anticipating. But I got a call from a parent saying, hey, what are you doing? What's going on? Just talk me through some things and help me see a light, and that would be all. So thank you.
I'd also like to thank my parents for letting me join hockey and play all these years. I know I might have been a pain, but I tried to get better. Tried. I'd like to thank my sister because she was always somebody I could play with when I was at home, and I didn't really live by anybody, so I always got to play with her out there. And I'd like to thank the coaches for these past years. I don't want any other coaches. You guys are awesome, what you do for all of us. I'd like to thank the young guys too, juniors and sophomores. You guys filled some big roles this year, and I'm very proud of you guys, and you guys can still do big things next year. Just with us out here, you guys can still play and succeed, so thank you for stepping up and filling those big roles. And thanks to my seniors. I'm going to miss you guys. It's been awesome. Thanks to my D partners and Regs for bailing me out when I needed it. And that's all. Thank you.
Alright, I'd like to thank my parents for taking me to the rink all the time and to the games. And I'd like to thank the coaches for helping me improve as a player. Had a lot of fun. And I'd like to thank all the players for getting us to where we went this year and just had an awesome season.
First off, I'd like to thank my parents, and especially my brother Luke. They showed me the love for the game, and just showed me the importance of hard work and dedication, and obviously showed this year with us and the boys. Thanks to the coaches for all the opportunities and fun practices and fun times. I want to thank Zach being the guy. You don't have too much fun in the showers without me.
Well, first off, I want to thank my mom for just getting me everything I need and being there. And I'd like to thank the coaches for helping us with this season. And I mean, last season for me, I know you guys have won, but it's been a couple of years. And I'd also like to thank all the players and my teammates. We made a great season, and can't really say anything else that hasn't been said. So, I guess that's it. it.
Barb's gonna play is it the senior slideshow here, so we get things booted back up.
Yeah, he was sleeping and they're trying to get him back up. Oh, boy. Okay, I think they might, he actually went to the tall guy when I was protecting it, so I think you're right. Yep, perfect, okay, thank you.
All right, and now I invite the captains of this year's team to come up and give the ceremonial passing of the C's to our next year's captains.
I just like to first like to say it was an honor to be named an assistant captain here with my friend Lane. Really proud to be part of this team and to be a leader on it. So for our first captain for next year, I would like to ask Charlie White to please come up.
Alright, for our second captain, I'd like to pass the C just down the road to Sean.
I'm excited for this. I would also like to pass this C down the road. They call him Thunder, Brock Olson.
I'll say something. Thanks for the votes, guys, and it's an honor, and I'm looking forward to next year. It'll be a good one.
Yeah, thank you, and excited for next year.
Hey, thanks guys, appreciate it, and I'm excited for next year.
And as the team, we all put money together and we got some gifts for the coaches. So they're over there. So, thank you, coaches. for everything you do.
Me, Tyson, and Brady are not good shoppers. This took forever. Hope you like it.
Did you do the rap job on that too over there? Oh. So obviously with our new captains, we should be able to keep things pretty light and exciting in the locker room, to say the least. Couple things I'd like to say is, I don't know if Mr. Chris had anything he wanted to come up and add, so let Mr. Chris come up, the Sewer Henderson Athletic Director who's in charge of boys hockey. come and say a few words as well.
So I kind of wish I would have spoken first because this was awesome. Just listening to this. So for those of you who don't know me, I'm Jeff Kirst. I'm the new activities director at LeSueur Henderson, but I have a history with the program as well. When we moved here in 2005, my first 5 years teaching and coaching, I was part of the staff for the high school team. In fact, I remember Hunter Wilness being about 7 or 8 years old. I coached his older brother, Jordan, and I remember Hunter running around the rink as never stopped, ever stopped. He was the Energizer Bunny, so it goes back a long way. So to see this come to kind of come full circle and have you guys go to the state tournament this year was pretty special. So on behalf of all the ADs in our co-op, we got John Bergs from Belle Plaine and Rich Kern from Cleveland, Chad Johnson from TCU, Jordan Paula from St. Peter. We just want to congratulate all of you guys for the outstanding season you had. I took over as AD in January, and obviously with the weather, people are like, man, this is going to be a memorable one for you. And I kind of smirk because it's not the weather that's going to be memorable for me. It's going to be watching these boys go to the state tournament. It was pretty awesome. So thanks to all of you guys. I also do want to recognize these coaches. I've known Chris and Chris for a while since we moved to Henderson, LeSueur area, and also Sean. And getting to know Shea over the last couple of years has just been a ton of fun to watch the way he coaches. He does things the right way. We are so fortunate to have him here. And obviously we know he's an educator, he's a teacher, and that comes first for Shea. It's about teaching these kids. It's not about the X's and O's of hockey, but it's about teaching these kids how hockey can make you a better young man, can help you in life, and he understands that. And someday these kids, and I'm sure they already do, but they're going to really realize that in a few years. I do want to recognize, most of you probably know this, but Coach Shea was voted the Section 1A Head Coach of the Year. So good job, Coach. And Assistant Coach Sean White was named Assistant Coach of the Year for the Section 1A. So wherever he is, there you go. I do want to just share a couple stories. This is not as an AD. This is as a dad of a youth hockey player and a youth hockey coach. A few years ago, most of you guys don't even probably really remember this, but I think we had a snow day, surprise, during the middle of the season. These guys were bantams, these seniors were bantams. And my son was a first-year squirt, starting out playing goalie. I have a goalie for a son. I'm not ashamed to admit that. And we had open hockey. The association said we got open hockey tonight for anybody who wants to come. And the deal was no coaches, nobody on the ice giving these kids drills. The kids out there just playing hockey and having fun. And I took Aiden and dropped him off, and there's two goalies there that night. My son, a first-year squirt, and Gunner. Gunner was I think a second-year bantam. So quite a discrepancy in size and skill. And there's probably about half and half squirts and peewees, and then a bunch of these guys who are seniors now were there as bantams. The first 10 minutes was pretty much chaos. Bucket of pucks was dumped out. Guys slapping pucks around the board. I'm just kind of watching going, oh geez, what's this going to be tonight? Well, pretty soon these guys who are seniors now, these guys kind of took control. And they put all the little kids on one bench and the bigger kids on another bench. And they did the old school, putting the sticks out, and they split them up evenly. Older kids, younger kids mixed together. Gunner was over stretching, doing his goalie stretches. My son was still kind of learning the position. So he went over and he was watching every move Gunner made. And whatever stretch Gunner did, my son did. And I'm watching this just as a dad. This is awesome. Because this is how we grew up playing hockey, just going to the rink. And as the evening went on, the kids split up, and all those bantams made sure that every little kid on that ice touched the puck and scored a goal. And about every 10 minutes or so, Gunner would start to skate to the other end of the ice, and he'd kind of motion my son to skate, and they'd switch ends. And as they passed, Gunner would high-five Aiden. And I'm watching this go down. And about an hour and a half later, I think I left to go run some errands, came back to pick up Aiden. And that night we were driving home. We live in Henderson. We were right about Bucks Lake. He hadn't said a word. And right about Bucks Lake, he just goes, "Dad, that was the best night of hockey ever." And from that moment on, you know, Gunner, you may think you're a backup goalie, whatever. To my kid, you'll always be a hero. He'll never forget that. Last summer, we came down to Gustavus. Coach Hoyland puts a clinic on, and I've helped him the last couple of years. And he lets goalies come free, so he called me up and said, "Hey, does Aiden want to get some shots?" I'm like, "Sure." It was like a 4-day clinic, and unfortunately, for the first few days, Aiden was the only goalie. So all these older guys are here. Lionel Lane, I think Sean, I think the Sauter boys, I think a bunch of you guys are here. I don't know who else was here from that group, but there was a handful of these guys about seeing. I think Charlie might have been there too. And for those 3 days, those first 3 days, these guys spent time working with our kids. They were taking shots on my son, and I remember Coach Hoyland said, "You know, you guys can kind of take it easy, you know, he's just a peewee goalie." And I remember my kid going, No, I want to shoot on me, I want to shoot on me. I think the last day Andy showed up, and again, the stars in my son's eyes when he saw Andy Regner skate on the ice. And he watched every move Andy did that day. And to watch these kids interact with our kids, and then to go to games and watch our peewees, watch our squirts in the stands, watching these kids, cheering these guys on. I was standing right next to my son and 2 other peewees last year when Lane scored those goals to tie it up against Waseca and go into overtime. You guys have no idea the impact that you've had on these kids. Going to state this year was awesome. That was like a cherry on top, but you guys have always been that example for our younger kids. And now that you've gone to state, you've set that bar. When I listen to these well-spoken young men up here thanking their parents, and I've hung out with a lot of you parents over the last month, and I see the camaraderie that you guys have. You guys do it the right way. You have set the bar for the younger players and you parents, for all of us parents coming up. And that's priceless. The day you guys lost to East Grand Forks, I asked my son on the way home, I said, "You want to go to the game tomorrow at Mariucci?" Of course he said, "Yeah," because he gets out of school. And he asked if one of his teammates could come with. I said, "Sure," but I said, "He's just going to spend the night tonight because we're going to leave early." So that night they were watching the evening session playing knee hockey in our basement, and I was walking by a couple times. And one time I walked by, and my son, talking to his friend, he goes, "So when we go to state, who do you want to play the first round?" And I thought to myself, you guys have put that seed into them. They believe now that as Bulldogs, they can go to the state tournament. This group put that seed there. So from now on, whenever we go to the state tournament, that seed was planted by you guys, and we thank you for that. Seniors, you guys are a great bunch. The last memory I want to share with you, many of you know that I have coached Lane Schwartz in cross country and track for the last almost 6 years. And we've had a lot of great moments on the cross country course and the track, going to state, watching him win the 2 mile last year at the conference meet. That was fine for me. I could have ended my career with Lane and just been as happy as a clam with that. But the one thing Lane and I always shared that a lot of runners and their coaches didn't share was a love of hockey. Not too many distance runners and their coaches have a love of hockey together. We always kind of had that bond. And Lane, putting that medal on your neck at the section final is something I will never, ever forget. Thanks everybody, thanks to all you parents. It's been just an amazing thing to watch all of this. As an AD, you guys have set the gold standard now for programs. And we hope the rest of our programs follow. So thanks everybody, and thanks for inviting me tonight. Thank you.
Thanks, Jeff. That was very, very well said. I guess kind of want to piggyback off of a couple of things that he said. Just last week, we were over in Mankato watching the boys basketball team play. I think it was in the section semifinals, and Brett Peterson, the head coach of the hockey team here at Gustavus, came up and talked to me and just talked about it. Congratulations on a great season, that kind of stuff. He said, going to the state tournament and seeing all that blue was one of the coolest things I've ever seen at the state tournament. And he said, just walking around the concourse and walking around those sections and seeing all these younger kids in their Bulldog gear and their eyes about this big, because none of them have ever seen the state tournament except for on Channel 45, maybe a couple of them. And so he's like, just seeing that is really cool, and what that state tournament is really all about. And so like Jeff said, you guys planted that seed, and seeing your guys' faces at the end of that Lures game, where it was just all of a sudden a rush of reality, that something that seemed like such a faraway dream. For me, I'll be perfectly honest, going to that Lures game, I still couldn't wrap my head around what it would be like if or when we won that game. It was so far-fetched that, that the high school hockey tournament was right there within our grasp, and seeing you guys realize that became a reality was the coolest thing I've ever been a part of any team. Seeing you guys celebrate with each other, that picture with all the communities and everybody down there together, is just something every time I see somebody doing, they're like, God, how many people were down there on the ice for that? And it's so cool. You don't see that with everything. It shows how the Bulldog family mentality is so real. You pull from 5 school districts, it can be tough, but these guys do it very seamlessly, and that's hard to come by at a high school age. A lot of these guys play each other in football. 2 weeks later, they're on the same team, and that a lot of times can cause a lot of rifts. And for us, it doesn't, and that just goes for how great of kids these guys are, how great of families they come from, and just I want to thank you guys from the bottom of my heart how fun of a year it was. Yeah, the section tournament was great, but just all the memories along the way. So kudos to you guys, every single one of you, not just varsity guys. It goes to everybody that's sitting at these tables, and managers as well. So from the coaching staff, from families, everybody, thank you guys for such a great year. So nice job. One thing I did want to touch on is Sean and I were talking the other day before he jetted off to Mexico, and we were kind of talking about, as Jeff alluded to, the section Coach of the Year awards. And to be perfectly honest, it felt kind of like a sham. The reason being is I've been coaching these guys for 3 years. You guys have been doing it for 11. Okay, Sean and I and Chris maybe a little bit more because of the Bantams and stuff, but we felt like we just kind of walked into right time, right place kind of thing. Especially for me, just moving into St. Peter. I said, hey, you want to coach hockey? Sure. All of a sudden, 4 years later, we're going to state tournament. So okay, that works out pretty well. It's been amazing being welcomed into this family. I can't imagine it going any other way. But like I said, it just felt like we were getting a lot of recognition for work that people out here have been doing. And so I do want to share that with you. So if these people could stand up and be recognized like they should be for all the hard work they've done since mini mites on up, we definitely should do that. So first off, we wouldn't have done a whole lot this year without, like I said at the start, the help of our assistant coaches. Chris and Chris deserve this award as much as Sean and I ever do, and so I want to make sure they get recognition for all the hard work that they put in, because it wasn't for lack of hours or anything like that they weren't on there. So Chris and Chris, thank you guys, and you guys are just as much of this nomination as anybody else. Second thing I want to bring up, when you coach a group of guys like this, and how hard, like I said, they want to work and how great they are, it definitely makes you look like a much better coach than you actually are. So I want to thank you guys for that. But you can tell these guys were destined for greatness from the very beginning. Ever since I had them for 3 years ago, I think after these senior guys' this sophomore year, Sean and I were standing in the locker room, and he said, just wait, these guys' senior year is going to be a special year. 2 years later, it absolutely was. But even when I moved into St. Peter, my first class was a lot of these guys in 8th grade health, and everybody was like, it's still their favorite class they've ever taken, I'm sure. But then all these guys, I kept hearing like, these guys, this class, these guys are really good at hockey. I'm like, okay, sure, yeah, they are, you know, and again, it was proved right. But the reason they were so destined for greatness is because of all the hard work that everybody else does. So these people, I want to make sure they get some recognition today for everything they've done. So if you have ever coached any of these boys, mini mites on up, I'd like for you to please stand up. Don't be shy. If you've ever had a leadership position in any of the association, whether it be on Hawk, whether it be serving on the board president, please stand up, and so we can recognize you as well. Also, if you've ever served as a team mom, if you've ever done any volunteer work, if you ever worked the concession stand, if you've ever done any of that, please stand up and make sure you get recognized. If you've ever driven your kid to practice and done all the hard work that these guys got to reap the benefit of, please stand up and make sure you're recognized by these guys. Okay, so guys, just notice that it wasn't just a couple coaches, it wasn't just a couple parents. It took a village to get you guys here, and make sure that you recognize that. Don't take that stuff for granted, because it doesn't come along every single year. And what they've done for us, for you guys, is incredibly special, and they deserve all the credit in the world for what they've done. And so thank you, parents, thank you, families, for what you guys have done for us and for this season. So last thing, and then I'll be done and we can get out of here. This is more towards the guys coming back next year. Seniors, you guys can kind of tune out if you want. Off-season starts as soon as we got done with the regular season. We can't assume like, all right, well, we'll just turn it back on next November. Now that we've done this, no one's going to care that we lose 10 seniors. Everyone's going to have a pretty big bullseye on our back. So we got to make sure that we work hard in the off season. A lot of things that we can guarantee that we're doing. Making sure that you're in the weight room. Whether you're lifting for another sport or not, if you're just lifting for hockey, hey, there's a lot that you can do. We'll meet at the end of the school year. We have a lifting program that we can give you. If you do one for another sport, I'm more than happy to just let you do that one. Hey, but making sure you're doing something in the off season instead of just sitting around waiting for Wednesday night hockey in Mankato, and then next November will go a long ways. Whether that be, again, lifting, working out, going to the rink and shooting in your backyard, anything along those lines can go a long, long way. We will be playing the Mankato Summer League again. Usually we get information out that in end of April or May. And so we'll get that out to families as soon as possible. Again, depending on numbers, we'll try and figure out how we'll do teams and all that, but that information can come at a later date. So with all that said, thanks again for everybody. Thank you for allowing us to coach your sons over these last 4 months. It's been the best, some of the best 4 months of my life, and I will never ever forget it. So thank you for all that you do, and I'm sure we'll see you around for you seniors. I'll miss you guys. Okay, so if you ever need anything, don't hesitate to call. Except it's money, those are the people you call for that. Thank you and have a good night.
Okay,
Oh, sorry.
golf tournament.
Ooh, yeah.
July 8th.
Okay, golf tournament, July 8th. This year it's at Le Sueur. And so information will be coming out about that, especially for sponsors and things like that. But that money, that's our main fundraiser. And it goes a long, long ways for the season with helping out locker rooms and meals and just day-to-day stuff throughout the year. So make sure any way you can help with that, that would be much appreciated.
Blue tape on the back. You moved, now I can't put the rest of it on there. Grab the table and just move it on a little bit.
There's a clock underneath that's breakable.
That's good.
Yep, just don't step on that clock. I want to make sure I get that out there.
Right there.
So Jen, to order that picture,
Yeah, the one right there.
yeah, do we need to grab hold of that miss?
I'm gonna have it fill this out.
Okay.
About 2 weeks.
There we go. I can get another one. Our kid, raised him right.
Also, if anybody wants a copy of Hockey Magazine that the guy made as a state tournament kind of preview kind of thing, we have a big bag of them up here that are free to grab, so come on up.
The thank you parents. I don't know who gets it.
It's not us.
No, it's not. Congratulations.
Yeah.
Oh, he is protected. My oldest son, yeah, and then that's how we got to know him by going to Gus Davis games. Yes.
Nice send off. What's this here? Is this the sign? Yeah, the sign. Are these for the coaches or each kid getting? So these I go on to and one of them is going for the booster.
Okay. Thank you.
So we thought about going for the coaches too. We thought, you know what, these could go for a lot of money. And not that the coaches don't deserve one, but they've got at least the photo. So these are, we're going to do these, we're going to frame them in a hockey frame, hockey stick frame, and then put them up for auction. Well, you got to go. We just got to get Sean to sign up when he comes back. See Sean Wright. Who's going to get the big one? I don't know. A lot of times those are used they get asked for graduation parties. But aside from that, I think whoever ends up with the class. You know,
I will come back and get
well, hopefully before.
I know, I'm kind of like.
We'll see. We'll see there. I mean, for sure. We're gonna work on it, but I just. Yeah, it's just one of the funny things.
Oh, I got the clock back on.
This is our off season. Now we don't see each other.
Oh my goodness, what a great speaker.
I remember that.
Oh my goodness, amazing. I could have sat and listened to him all night long. Oh, he was very good. Do you need anything else? There's the parent, the thank you. I don't know what it's back.
Megan. Megan's gonna keep it.
Okay.
You know what? It's all going to whoever's the captains for next year. I'm out.
Yeah, I know.
So I told her.
I'm out.
I'm in. Yeah. Anything else you guys need?
I did not know.
Yes, I am. It's a cool picture.
I was here, but I heard about it. You're gonna get one with 10 on it, just like that, Ron. Yeah, you'll get, they have them in there. The guys that got
Good idea.
This is a good idea.
Guaranteed, I know, guaranteed to sell. Money.
To 16 teams. Every year.
Every year.
Every year.
Did you guys go to the motel at all, Double Tree?
My memory, can I say my memory? I walk in. She's That's my memory of going to the Double Tree.
That's all it was
That's
said.
all it was said, and I was like, oh my God.
Did you happen to look at the guy at the front desk?
Oh, the concierge or the front desk?
Whatever at the front desk, yeah. Here, well, Jay does this, whatever, you know, what's her name? Monster Thing? Yeah. Oh, Rod. So he secretly takes a picture of this guy and then puts Rod right next to it.
Oh, no.
And it's bad, though, same fluid in their hair.
I was gonna say that, but.
Good job, Ron. Good job, Steve. Thanks for the tickets. You're off again. Oh, were you really? Was that after Sandy? Who was that? Sick a couple times this year. Keep it smarter than stuff you do. It does. They're worried about the person. Can it shake anybody's hand?